Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the hereliesmetal Too Many Notes New Music Review. And today,
who are you?
I am Maledictus still, hopefully.
And I am Samanthar.
Yes, still. We all know that though, right? Because you all been watching. But today we have a special band called Lycopolis with their album, The Procession. And what do we know about this?
Alright, this is a black metal band from Asyut, Egypt. We have an Egyptian band, our first Egyptian band. And we do not know who's in this band. The band members are of unknown identity and quantity. And we don't even have a pseudonym. We just have the band name, Lycopolis.
Anonymous.
They're pretty new band. Their first demo came out in 2019, and this is their debut full length. Came out on January 15th. Released, I believe, independently on digital, but there's some physical copies available via Snow Wolf Records and Azure Grawl, some small distros. I do want to take a look at this tape they made. They made a beautiful tape that looks like sand.
Another tape.
Isn't this a nice sand tape?
That's a nice color. It's nice. I like how they're doing tapes in colors now. They didn't used to do that back in the day. So anyway, what is a Lycopolis anyway? It's kind of a weird name for a band. Well, I looked it up.
The Greek etymology would be City of Wolves.
That's right. And that Lycopolis is the Greek name for an ancient city of Asyut, which still stands along the Nile River in modern Egypt. And it's also the place where the band resides, as said before.
So they're named for their home city.
That's right, but they used the Greek name. Yeah, interestingly enough. So let's get on with the review. So now it's time for the hereliesmetal, as always, 5-point bidirectional classification scale, including the categories genre loyalty, listenability, production style, musical complexity, and just plain fun. And please note that either end of these scales mean good or bad. Let's begin with the review.
Alright, for our first scale, the genre scale, true to nonconformist, this is on the true side, not all the way over on true for black metal, because there's a lot of very eastern elements. This is east meets north as far as it goes for black metal. Just as an example, the intro on this album, the intro track Upland, has this very Arab feel to it, very Middle Eastern. It almost sounds a bit like Dick Dale surf rock to me. It's a very rock and roll way to begin this album.
Yes, the intro is very like non-black metal. It kind of starts in a very non-black metal way, interestingly enough. But it's funny that you mentioned Dick Dale, or also known as Richard Anthony Mansour, because he was actually of Lebanese descent, and aggressive surf music, which he was a pioneer of, also incorporated a lot of Eastern and exotic scales, like the harmonic, minor harmonic, and Phrygian dominant scales. And many credit his works to the influence of metal at large.
Well, I think these guys listen to Dick Dale. What I particularly like about this is that usually, on a black metal album, you'll have some kind of atmospheric bullshit leading up to the blast beats. And they do get to the blast beats, but it's this fun, like, kind of Middle Eastern Dick Dale sounding instrumental track. And then the blast beat drops. When I just, I get tired listening to black metal, and you're listening to these, like, this atmospheric stuff, and you're like, you know the drop is coming, but this is like a similar thing, except it didn't have that same tired feeling. But that said, like, it alternates between, like, these, like, Middle Eastern slow kind of approachable riffs into, very typical sounding and reverential, I would say, to second wave black metal. Norwegian black metal. I think they sound for these parts most closely to early Darkthrone, and particularly because there's no synths on this record that I could tell.
They're gonna hear, but we'll get to that in a second.
If there's a synth, it sounds really shitty and is way in the back. But yes. Another thing while listening to it, I noticed is it kind of struck me like, is Middle Eastern music and black metal like not that far apart? Like, because it blends pretty well and seamlessly on this album. Like, you'll notice, for example, on the track 7, Lord of the Necropolis, like, it opens with this very Middle Eastern sounding riff that's kind of drony and like echoing, but they just transform. It's the same like chord they just transform the rhythm and it sounds very black metal, like with with no other changes to it. What do you make of that?
Well, it's obviously like the harmonic minor scale or the Phrygian dominant scale. Sorry to get into theory, which I usually know nothing about. I did some research. So many identify as Middle Eastern these scales in popular culture that kind of have that Egyptian kind of sound or Middle Eastern kind of sound, basically just that Eastern exotic kind of sound. You know the sound. But this scale also is prevalent in black metal globally. If you notice, a lot of like European metal kind of uses this kind of scale. You know what I'm talking about. This scale is Greek in origin, but obviously, has a historic influence on ancient Egypt, as Greece had a major influence on ancient Egypt. Of course, maybe that's how this came about historically, but and interestingly enough, no one has ever heard or read musical charts of ancient Egypt, as written music didn't exist back then. It was all kind of word of mouth music, or just kind of remembered. But Lycopolis seems to flawlessly meld their own native music traditions with those of true black metal, as if it were always meant to coexist, I feel.
Thank you, Maledictus. That was very interesting.
Yes. Thank you, Professor Maledictus of music.
All right, our second scale, the Sonic Terror scale. This is pretty frightening. We're giving this a 2 or maybe a 1.5 on the Sonic Terror scale. I mentioned before, like the Middle Eastern elements keep this from being like a completely terrifying album. Like they are more, swingy and catchy, and they're the most approachable parts. But I would say that 80% of this album is true black metal. And it's a very raw production that just amplifies the Sonic Terror.
Yes, normally it would get full Sonic Terror, but I think that brings it back a little bit. The Procession is a black metal, is as black metal as pickled herring. But in the case of Lycopolis, the food is way better. I love me some Egyptian food. How about you? Comment down below if you like Egyptian food. It's quite wonderful. The pantheon Lycopolis celebrates through their authentic yet adopted brand of black metal upholds the same sonic terror expected when reanimating the dormant gods of ancient times, as the Norwegians also do with their Lokis and whatever is in their Voltons. But no matter what the pantheon, basically, this could go for any band, whether from Greece or Rome or Egypt or Persia,
Okay. But yes, it's true black metal. We've got pounding blast beats. We've got horrifying black metal shrieking, very firmly Sonic Terror.
Yes, it's black metal.
Black metal.
Next.
Okay, our production quality scale here. We have it. This is raw black metal. It's the number 1 Fisher Price. This is the Fisher Price sound. Bare bones.
Lycopolis also maintains the true black metal authenticity in their choice of recording quality. You simply can't have proper black metal in a high production setting. I mean, proper. There's a lot of black metal that does that, but that's not. We don't really respect that stuff. This is a universal virtue that transcends all borders. Obviously, no matter where the black metal is from, they know how to get the true sound.
So yes, if you like that raw sound, you're really going to hear those echoes on the cymbals. The vocals are fuzzy as shit, and the drums are nice in the back. I particularly like the drum sound. I'm very picky about drums when they're blasting that hard.
I'm thinking they did it on purpose. I don't think they had to do it that way. I think they did it to recreate.
Well, it's very authentic sounding.
Yeah, I think they did it on purpose. I don't think it was like we don't have the recording. I think that's what
this is not a new style. Yeah, so they have reproduced the classic.
I think a lot of people do it. So comment down below if that's true, you guys. If you guys are watching this, comment how I'm always interested in how you record this. So
stop addressing the band.
Or anyone who knows maybe, but a lot of times the bands see these things and they comment. That I'm interested in hearing from the bands.
Okay, our note scale, how many notes? We give this a 3 for things like this where it's not too musically complex, but it's fast and intense. As I said, a lot of intense blast beats and black metal happening on this album.
There's a lot of notes here, but as I like to say, many of the notes are the same note played in a rapid chromatic succession, as black metal does. There's no guitar solos to be found that I can identify. However, Lycopolis places mid-scale on this particular scale due to their heavy incorporation of regionally familiar harmonic minor scales, which I mentioned before, which gives a little bit of progressiveness, I would say, and which one can argue have been appropriated. These kind of scale, as we mentioned before, could arguably have been appropriated by Northern European black metal and metal at large. I think, the scale I think comes from the Mediterranean. That's my theory. I could be wrong, but that's what it seems like to me.
Interesting take.
Yes.
Okay. Our final scale, the fun scale. This isn't very fun. We're giving this an almost completely focused score here. It's not all the way focused like true black metal often is, just because those fun Middle Eastern parts, like the intro Upland, as I mentioned, we talked about earlier. There's another interlude instrumental on this album called The Power of Two Lands. That's also very more on the Middle Eastern side style. And it has this very intriguing and mysterious energy to it. But the rest of the album is a lot of pretty serious sounding black metal. Again, I have no idea what they're talking about, but I'm assuming it sounds pretty serious.
Yeah, it's hard to understand it, but that's fine. That's black metal. It wouldn't be black metal if it wasn't.
That's what you're here for.
Mm-hmm.
Black metal should be serious. Mm-hmm. And I also find this whole Egypt's ancient Egyptian religion theme very refreshing change from the pretty tired tropes of modern and just really since the second wave of black metal of like snow, Satan,
ice,
vampires. So this is nice.
Church burning. This is specifically ancient Egyptian take on black metal, I would say. As mentioned before, rather than typical Norwegian black metal tropes, church burning, Norse gods, satanic things, all the likes of what they do, we have a celebration of ancient Egyptian lore, and as equally focused direction as their northern black metal counterparts. Just because the climate and food is better, it doesn't make it any more fun. Lycopolis also conspire, just like the black metal bands, they also conspire in the facilitation in establishing the long defunct ancient gods in place of our own monotheistic traditions as accepted in modern times. So that's serious. That's not fun.
So who is more true, the Norse gods or the Egyptian gods?
I can't decide. I mean, they're both kind of really into this. But why not celebrate, Osiris, Anubis, Horus, and Set in place of Wotan, Thor, Loki, and Fenris. The spirit of black metal is global. I think it could come from anywhere.
At the very least, as we discussed earlier, the Egyptian gods are a bit more easy to pun on.
Well, yes.
Maledictus was coming up with some other titles they could use for song titles.
Maybe I was hoping. Before I heard the album, I was, when Samantha was telling me about the album, I was like, oh, they probably have songs by the name of Set is Upset and Anubis Missed the Bus and things like that. Don't you think that'd be
And you set those titles against black metal shrieking. Set is upset.
Yeah, that sounds all like right. That's what I would call it. I'm sorry.
These jokes are bad.
I'm not teasing you guys. It's a great album, really.
Jokes are bad. We apologize.
That's what I do, and that's why they want me off the air. But I won't stop. So,
all right. In conclusion, very interesting album. I enjoyed it. It's pretty rare for us to get out of bed for a regular old black metal album that we would put in the true area, but. I'm into this very interesting blend of Middle Eastern Arab elements with our traditional true cold black metal. So very nice.
It's always interesting to have a band come from some such like an unusual place like Egypt. A band such as like a black metal band come from a place like Egypt. It's always like whoa, let's check that out.
Almost everybody in black metal operates under a pseudonym, but they don't even have a pseudonym. And in a place like this where you live, maybe in a very religious area or a country, they're not hiding their identities for fun. There might be
Sure.
serious consequences if found up there making very strange music like this.
Yes.
Not that I'm not sure if their content is transgressive, but Egypt is not currently practicing ancient Egyptian religion. So
no, I don't imagine that would be frowned upon in a society like Egypt for the most part.
So yes, but I also definitely recommend this for all fans of true black metal to maybe expand your horizons a little, very slightly, because this is very much true black metal, but with a little bit of a Middle Eastern tinge to it. So
Yeah,
give it a shot.
it's
Give
regional.
it a shot.
I have a question though. What if there was like a true black metal band from America? What would they like?
There's plenty of black metal.
No, but
US
like
black metal bands.
yeah, but like what are they doing? Like what are they saying about Norse gods? Though?
Yes, usually.
So they're just doing that. Okay. 'Cause they don't
Yes.
really like what are they gonna say about like American Indian like kind of.
I mean, no. I mean, there's a lot of different people doing different things
Yes.
as far as U.S. black metal goes. But there are definitely people in the U.S. making black metal about Odin. Like, so.
Yeah, they're just doing that. But that's interesting. But anyway, so this has been another episode of Too Many Notes, new music metal review, and we'll see you next time with another review of another great band. Good night.